center. Brian Cargill, former Oakville EDA president.
Okay, so I'm live here at a conservative town hall, and James Bezan is a guest speaker.
Todd Verghese, Oakville West
I'll probably
nomination
just be pretty
candidate.
quiet.
And Taraz Antoniou, Oakville North Burlington. And I will apologize now if I missed anyone. That's trying to just go around the room quickly and make sure we get all the people. So, welcome everyone. There we go, that's right. Well, yeah, usually you conservatives follow the rules. Like, what happened here? So tonight we are very pleased to have with us
Say hi.
our guest of honor, Conservative Member of Parliament James Bezan, the Shadow Minister of National Defence. James Bezan has been successfully elected 7 times as a Conservative Member of Parliament since 2004. Yeah, I know. Wow, that is amazing. Especially when I grew up in the GTA, so it's really amazing. With his most recent electoral victory in the riding of Selkirk Interlake, MP James Bezan has been a very spoken critic on the issue of Russian aggression in Eastern Europe and protecting Ukraine's democracy, sovereignty, and human rights. For his work on Ukrainian issues, he has been recognized with numerous awards both in Canada and abroad.
Like that,
We are
okay.
really looking forward to hearing from MP Bezan on the topics related to national security, military readiness, and defense policy. It is now my great pleasure to introduce MP James Bezan, Shadow Minister of National Defense.
Good evening, everyone. How's everyone doing? That's great to hear. So I'm a rancher from Manitoba, here in Oakville. But I have been very honored to have been elected 7 times, one for my 8th time, as now I am the candidate, nominated candidate for Selkirk Interlake Eastman. For all the candidates that are out there, congratulations for wanting to serve, for wanting to be part of Pierre Poilievre's future government. Be there to do what's right, to really start fixing things that Justin Trudeau has broken. Now, for all you candidates, I actually lost my first nomination race. So it was devastating. And so go out there, sell the memberships, build the support, build the team, and everyone that's here to support one or the other candidates, be active. Help them get their nominations. And that builds momentum right into the election. Now things are changing. April 22nd, no more Oakville. It all splits up. Which is a good thing. Maybe we'll also get rid of Anita and Ann. You know, if you guys have been watching the news a little bit, you can really see how she's been, jockeying around, wants to be part of the new leadership. And there's going to be a huge race once they push Trudeau out. The news coming out this week, Dominic LeBlanc. That was in the news. He's actually kicking tires, yelling at him in question period. Hey, you want to be leader? Get up and answer the damn questions. He sat on his hands. But let's get Donald out there. Let's kick his butt too. But we got to do something to get rid of Trudeau.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
for those of us that are politicians or wanting to be politicians, I got to tell you that Ted told me this story when he was a member of Parliament. That when he was, around 14, 15 years old, his dad wanted to test to find out what type of man he was going to be. And so he went into Ted's bedroom and he put on the dresser. First he put a Bible, then he put a $20 bill, then he put a bottle of whiskey and finished off with a Playboy magazine. He said, well, if he picks up the Bible, he's going to be a preacher. He was going to serve in the Polish Catholic Church. If he picked up the $20 bill, well, you know, he's going to be a banker, small business. Grabbed a bottle of whiskey, well, he's just going to be a drunk. And if he grabbed the Playboy magazine, he's going to be a womanizer. So he hid in the closet and waited till Ted got home from school, and Ted came in and went to the dresser and saw all this stuff. Grabs a $20 bill, grabs the Bible, grabs the Playboy magazine, takes it on the whiskey, sounds it, walks up, and his dad goes, oh my God, he's going to be a member of Parliament. So, anyway, I miss Ted greatly. Ted and I were brothers in arms, partners in crime. You know, we served alongside each other, multiple trips in support of Ukraine, and we were actually in Ukraine the day that the little green men showed up on the streets of Crimea. So Ted and I go way back, and so really cheering him on in his nomination race for sure. So this week we had the budget. Did you guys watch that?
Freeland was in Burlington today.
What's that?
Freeland, she was in Burlington today.
Oh, really?
Yep. With
So
Pam. Yes.
they are going to try to sell this terrible budget. David Dodge, who served as governor of Bank of Canada under Jean Chrétien and Paul Martin, said that this is the worst budget since 1982. Who's the prime minister in 1982? Pierre Trudeau. 1.0, and now Trudeau 2.0 is even worse.
What did you?
He's done,
I shared it with four people.
everything that
Well, that was-
he's done before. He's raising taxes, he's spending out of control, he's doubled the national debt that is even more than all of the other prime ministers in Canadian history combined. Combined. 150 years worth of Canada hasn't ranked up the debt that this guy's done in 9 years. And you see it here in Oakville, in the GTA, that people are seeing their rents double, their mortgages have doubled. Young Canadians can't save up enough money to go out and for a down payment to put on a new home. They're not living the Canadian dream like we have been lucky enough to do. You know, I was 19 years old when I got my first mortgage to buy my first chunk of farmland. There's no way that our kids and our grandkids can do that. That is unconscionable, that we've made it impossible for our own children and our grandchildren to succeed. How are we going to move ahead as a country if we don't have the ability to own a property? And guess what Trudeau's doing in this budget? Your capital gains are going to get taxed even more. The biggest intergenerational transfer of wealth in human history, not just in Canada, but in North America and in Europe, comes through the wealth generation of capital gains, either through property or businesses, and that is where we are able to make sure that our kids do well. That doesn't exist now under Justin Trudeau and Chrystia Freeland. It's ridiculous. And now he has nailed us with another $54 billion deficit, and it's $40 billion a year going forward. So I guess, Justin, budgets don't balance themselves. Not at all. We are spending more on interest and on servicing that debt than what we spend here in Canada. We don't transfer $53 billion a year to our provinces to deliver health care. We don't spend anywhere near $54 billion a year on defense. So instead of paying more for our troops, instead of paying more for nurses and doctors and frontline healthcare workers, Trudeau would rather give that money to the big banks and the bondholders. Wealthy bondholders will benefit from this huge debt and interest charges that we're facing. And our interest charges are now greater than our deficit. It's not that we have a revenue problem in the bank or in the government of Canada. we have a spending problem by Justin Trudeau. So, what does Pierre say? I hope you guys know this by now. How many here have been to one of Pierre's rallies? Awesome. Because what are we going to do when Pierre becomes Prime Minister? We're going to axe the tax. We're going to fix the budget, stop the crime, and we're going to build the homes. Because that's the only way we're going to be able to make enough homes for our children, for new Canadians, for those that want to come here and live the Canadian dream, is we got to create the opportunities for them. We have to make sure that our communities can support them and support our next generation. Now, in this budget was money for Canadian Armed Forces. The Defense Policy Update came out last week, and just like their first policy book, Strong, Secure, Engaged, I don't like saying it, because it was a book of empty promises. And what we have here is more disappointment. If you look at the money they talk about in this budget, it doesn't happen for the military. It doesn't happen until after the next election. Will Bill Blair still be the Minister of National Defense after the next election? No. Will Justin Trudeau be Prime Minister? No. You're damn right. We are going to make sure of that. And that's why it's so great to see everyone here. You know, fighting for Canada, standing up for our troops. Let's fight for those who fight for us. You know, I've always used my bowling pulpit as a parliamentarian to go out there and stand up for those that stand on the wall. Our brave men and women in uniform who serve us every day, and we just take it for granted that we're safe here at home. But the world is getting more and more dangerous. And this is the biggest disappointment in Blair's defense policy update. It's not that he didn't get to 2%. It's that he failed to recognize the threats that we're facing as a country and as a world. War is raging in Ukraine. We're witnessing war in the Middle East. Iran attacking Israel this past weekend was unthinkable even 6 months ago. You know, the Houthis shooting at ships in the Red Sea. Never mind the powder keg that's hidden over with the PRC and the People's Liberation Army Navy in the South China Sea, the Strait of Taiwan, and the Sea of Japan. That's ready to erupt at any point in time. And when that explodes, we're in a lot of trouble. And I told Blair at committee, war is not waiting for Canada to build our ships 10, 15, 20 years down the line. They're not waiting for Canada to train the pilots to put in the F-35s, which we wanted to buy back in 2010, by the way. They aren't waiting for us to get the pilots trained, the infrastructure built for when the planes show up here in 3 years' time. They're going to slowly start trickling in 2026, 2027. War is not waiting for us to upgrade all of our armored vehicles, replace the tanks, the howitzers, and all infantry vehicles for the Canadian Army. Never mind what we need to do to take care of continental defense here and be a reliable partner to the United States. We have to modernize NORAD. We support that. We have to have more ability to see what's happening in our sovereign Arctic. And that means projecting power up there. And again, long-term wishes like Justin Trudeau and Bill Blair does not build the installations and the equipment that we need to protect ourselves right here at home. You know, what they talk about all this money they're rolling out for national defense. You know what's actually happening in national defense this year, next year, and the year after that? $3 billion in cuts. The only place that Justin Trudeau has cut as Prime Minister has been the Department of National Defense. That's a shame. He wants to call on our guys to go and serve in Latvia and other places, and meanwhile he's cutting their budget, not buying their kit. We got soldiers that are actually buying their own equipment for Latvia. I was in Latvia last summer, and I saw the guys that had actually gone out there and bought their own vests. They went and bought their own goggles and hearing equipment and radio equipment because they couldn't get it from their own armed forces because of the cuts by Justin Trudeau. You know, he talks about being, you know, a feminist. One of the things they cut this year is they already phoned the people building uniforms for the Canadian Armed Forces. You know what? We don't need any uniforms for women. Yeah, he actually stopped the order. This is how ridiculous it's got. And shame. Say it, shame! It makes me feel good. I do it in the house all the time. I told Bill Blair at committee on Monday, you know, the record of the Liberals, and it's a sad record. He was out there bragging about all the things that they bought, which none have been delivered, by the way. The Arctic Offshore Patrol ships that are being delivered, and we're on ship number 5 right now, were ordered by us. The F-35s have originally been ordered by us. They stopped it. Trudeau said he'd never get it. But the track record of the Liberals is troops actually having to use food donations when they're on training in Ottawa. We have our own soldiers, sailors, and aircrew who are having to live rough, they call it, living in tents, living in their cars because military housing is in such bad state of repair that they can't go in it. And when they are buying in the community, when they go to places like Esquimalt and Halifax, they can't afford it. I had a couple who had been stationed at CFB Shiloh in Manitoba, and they wrote this letter, and it was just heartbreaking. They're both serving members, and they got transferred to Halifax to be at CFB Shearwater. They owned a home in Brandon, sold that beautiful home, moved to Halifax, and they can't afford to buy a house. They spent the summer in their camper, and then finally they got put in the crappy PMQ on base. And he said, I sit there every night and pretty much cry at how terrible their living accommodations are. I'm supposed to raise a family. The answer by Bill Blair when I brought that story up at committee, well, you know, we're building more homes. I said, how many homes have you guys built in the last 2 years? 38. We're short 6,700 houses by Blair's own admission, and he built 38 in the last 2 years. And in the DPU and in this budget for military housings, this year, $0. Next year, $0. The year after that, only $1 million. You don't build a decent home for you know, $500,000 anymore. You're not going to definitely build more than 2 with $1 million. That's how these guys think about our troops. Their record, military families using food banks, CFB Gagetown, CFB Borden, CFB Petawawa.
And they're raising rents too on some of these bases.
Rents were increased this year.
Going up.
Rents went up
Yeah.
on April 1st, 4.3%.
Shame.
So he's taking it up. You got shame. But, you know, so he's increased cost of living. He's putting more hurt on those who serve in uniform. We have less people signing up to serve. You know, the woke culture has driven away those in service. We have more people leaving than they can bring in. Today, we're sitting at 15,500 troops short. We have over 10,000 military members who are undertrained and undeployable. Why are they undertrained? Well, the middle management, our corporals, our sergeants, our master corporals, our sergeant majors, the guys that run the training, have been leaving in droves because of woke ideology, the liberal left experiment that's taking place in using our soldiers, aircrew, and sailors as pawns in this crazy experiment.
That's shameful.
And nobody wants to serve anymore.
No.
Yeah. So we are going to get rid of this woke culture. Amen. We will bring back the ethos, the respect and honor for those who serve in the Canadian Armed Forces so that they can stand with their heads held high. And we will make sure we build the homes to house them in. We'll make sure that when they go abroad, I love talking about, the whole slogan. So with our troops, we're gonna axe the tax, because whether it's carbon taxes or increasing cost of living, the inflationary taxes that have been imposed by Trudeau and these liberals are hurting our troops. That's why they have to go to food banks. That's why they can't support their families. That's why they can't afford housing in the community and have to rely on the crappy military housing that we have on base. So we're going to axe the tax because it also benefits our troops. We're going to build the homes for our troops. You hear all the time here talking about using federal buildings and federal land to build more homes. The first ones that are going to benefit it are the ones who are on base, because that's where a lot of the buildings are going to be. Even in places like here in the GTA where we have armories, we can build above and still have the armory. We actually, I think, would be able to attract a lot more people into our reserve units if they know that, hey, there's beautiful homes right here at the armory too. I can live and work right on base. Yeah, I think it's a great way to do it. It's a great way to build those numbers back up. We're going to stop the crime. Crime's out of control. Runs a former city police officer. There, good. Thank you for your service. Thank you. So, you think about our troops. They go out there prepared to take on danger every day. And they stand on the wall to keep us safe. They sail the seas, they patrol the skies, they got their eyes and ears on all the time. You think about the guys that get deployed up to alert, about the loneliest place on earth you can go. When you're up in alert, Northwest Territories, you're actually closer to Moscow than you are to Ottawa. Yeah. You don't go out and go to the pub for a nice chat very easily up in alert. But I can tell you what, when they are out there, they have to be able to come home and know that they're safe in their own communities. The catch and release that Justin Trudeau has done with our criminal justice system, the way he has completely destroyed, how we have safe communities when you see car theft, doubling year in and year out. And it's easier for the criminal than it is to keep the car than it is for you as a car owner to actually get your car back. That's happening to our own soldiers, sailors, and air crew as well. We want to make sure that they're safe at home. We're going to fix the budget.
Yes.
Yeah. So, Bear talks about for every new dollar of spending, you got to find a dollar within the government of Canada to make it work. I can tell you this, that the one place you won't see any cuts, you won't see the $3 billion cut Trudeau is doing to the military, you will not see Pierre Poilievre do that to the Canadian Armed Forces. The Canadian Armed Forces will get the dollars they need to do the job. We have to fix procurement. There's a lot of work there to do. But that means that once we get procurement fixed and we can go out there and get kit, we're going to buy quicker. Because we know what? We're living in an increasingly dangerous world. Pierre is very concerned about our national security, about our ability to defend Canada here and being a reliable partner on the world stage. And the only way you're ever going to get taken seriously is that you have to have hard power to back up your soft power. You've got to be able to project power if you're going to be taken seriously as a G7 nation. So, ladies and gentlemen, there is just so much work to do. There is so much that has been damaged by Trudeau and Anita Anand, Bill Blair. You think about all the people that are around him. Traitors. Well, they are definitely people that don't have our best interests. One thing you look at this budget, if you read the commentary, and you guys got Bill Marneau, former finance minister, trashing the budget. You have Tom Mulcair, as former NDP leader, saying this is a bad budget. There is nothing here to guarantee that we as a nation are more productive, more competitive on the world stage, and more prosperous as Canadians. They are actually destroying the very fabric. You think about time under Stephen Harper, and you remember when we came out of the global recession of 2009-2010, we actually saw the standard of living in Canada surpass that of the United States. Canada's GDP today, the average middle-class income here in Canada is lower than Arkansas. Not, I have anything against Arkansas, but just to put it on perspective. As a U.S. state, we'd be somewhere around 15th, 16th overall. That is not the Canadian dream. You know, Justin Trudeau came to power, and one of the things that he said, the most unpatriotic comment, is that we are a post-nationalist state. You know what? Whether you were born here or you decided to come and make Canada your home, we came here because we love the very ideal of what Canada represents. And we have to make sure that that patriotism is reinstated, that the psyche is changed. Canadian psyche has changed. The only way that people are going to step up to serve, whether it's in the Canadian Armed Forces, in our police services, you know, on the front lines, in healthcare, is they want to have that connection to our country. Let's take pride in who we are and quit destroying what we have gotten done in the history of this great nation. So you've got a number of questions here. I don't see any
Oh, you're not,
cross.
you're not full.
You're kind
I'm more
of,
for
cross is usually, okay, well, I'm going to can't see you. Well scripted.
Well, thank you very much for that, James. That was an excellent presentation.
That was just a start.
It's only the beginning, because we do have a few questions for you. So, on.
Oh, yeah, no, fine. How long did I go?
All right. One particular topic that comes up quite often is the 2% commitment to NATO.
Yep.
Okay? And in light of the increasing world aggression, will a Pierre-Poilievre conservative government meet this target of 2% to NATO?
So we will honor our commitments. And I can tell you this, though, after the budget came down on Monday, or on Tuesday, he's just made that a lot tougher. To be a strong military, you've got to have strong finances to back it up. And to cut $40 billion from other spending to get back to balance without increasing taxes, as Justin Trudeau is doing, is going to be a challenge. We have to really dig into this budget right now to find out where is there savings that we can take and reinvest back into the armed forces. CBC, but everybody wants to get rid of CBC. But that's only $1 billion. $1.4 billion. And that is only a one-time saving. We got to find savings year in, year out, because we got deficits of 54, 44, 42, and $40 billion over the next 5 years. That is our challenge, and so we do have to figure this out. So we're going to be spending some time looking at where we can find savings, where we can reduce spending, and where we can take dollars and reallocate them back to national defense. And one of the ways you do that, let's pay our troops properly.
Yes.
That's one of the easiest things to do. You know, we're waiting to fix procurement. Let's get rid of all the red tape. Let's buy more off the shelf. You know, let's get kit delivered way faster. That's the way you do it. Now, we definitely want to make sure. I actually met with JDLS, you know, General Dynamics, you know, big armored vehicle plant in London, Ontario today. And like I said, you know, tell us what you can build. Not just to tell us, you know, what do you want, because then we have to develop and it's going to take time. They're building already through their various organizations, strikers and lab vehicles for other countries as well. Let's just take the best of that, build for Canadian purposes, and deliver it. We're looking at the service combatants right now. Here we are. We ordered we awarded that contract to Irving when we were still government 10 years ago. They still haven't finalized the design on that ship. And you know, I met with Irving this morning as well. And Irving said, you know, one of the craziest things is that the Navy is looking at it and going, you know what? I don't want the galley here. Now, let's move it over here, and you're going, okay, well, then you have to redesign the whole top of the ship if we're gonna take, all the electronics, the water, the plumbing, the exhaust fan, everything, it has to move everything around the boat. And then finally, the admiral was saying this one, oh, okay, we'll just leave it. But, this is how crazy things get when you have too many, people, too many cooks with their fingers in the pot, right? You gotta just suck the design. That's one of the reasons they said that they're gonna go with the Type 26 from the United Kingdom. They're gonna do the Type 26 ship because it was off the shelf. Well, this boat now, it's 30% bigger. It's a hybrid frigate and destroyer. It's gonna be an amazing ship when it ever gets built, but it's also gonna be one of the most expensive ships, not just in Canadian history, but in the entire world. The only thing that costs more than it is a Virginia-class nuclear stuff.
All right, next question. How serious is foreign interference on Canadian soil?
It's very. Well, we got the Persian community here. All the time, you guys are experiencing, Iran and intimidating all of your activities here, standing up for human rights, fighting for the rule of law.
Agent came to my office.
They came right to your office.
Intelligence Service, FBI conference, such a shame, and RCMP never responded. Like FBI conference, that was a high-profile operative in my office, take me down.
People can't hear you.
FBI
People can't
but
hear you back there.
So you got the Iranians that have been intimidating Canadian Persian community for decades already. We have the People's Republic of China that are right now being really investigated finally through the Foreign Interference Inquiry and through the Canada-China Parliamentary Committee. And all the evidence points to them not only interfering, but influencing the elections of 2019 and 2021. Now, it may not have resulted in a victory for the Conservatives, but it did result in at least 9 of our candidates losing because of their interference. And I know that myself and others are targeted all the time by Russia. The Kremlin has their troll farm in St. Petersburg, who are active all the time. I actually had a Polish organization 2 weeks ago take a look at my social media feeds as well as PRs. Because we're getting, every time we post about anything in support of Ukraine, we're getting out ratio just terrible. And you can talk to Cross, who does my social media, it's nasty. I'm not going to stop because of a bunch of trolls. I'm going to stand up for what's right and keep fighting. The same thing happened when I post on Iran. We'll bring democracy and human rights to Iran, getting rid of the Ayatollahs and the mullah. Amen. And whenever I promote and speak about that, I get hit hard. And so even on the Ukraine, whenever I put a post into Ukraine, I get all the pushback on Twitter or X and Facebook and Instagram. Almost in every situation, I've got a lot of Russian influence. That is now spilling over into Canadians. They're actually believing the disinformation coming from those trolls and bots. But China is also targeting me as well. And so, we really have to, as elected officials, become more vigilant and more aggressive in pushing back. But at the same time, we're only got so many people that do our social media. I got 1.5, right? And it is just such a big job when you're getting hit over and over and over again. It's whack-a-mole for them, right? So we have to continue to be vigilant. We have to change the rules on how we balance off our ability to all of us, Canadians. We don't want to take away dissenting voices. If you want to disagree with what I have to say, then make sure it's Canadian. But for the ones that are coming from bots and trolls and AI, artificial intelligence is really taking over all this, then we have to figure out a way how to fight that. I tell you who does it well, Taiwan. I was there last year. I went to their Department of Technology and Cybersecurity, and they don't, they identify when an attack is coming, always coming from Beijing, but then they are able to engage civil society, and civil society that in a matter of 3 minutes, they can out-ratio any of the misinformation, disinformation coming from Beijing and kill the attack. It's what happens in that first 3 or 4 minutes that's critical to seeing how effective that troll or that bot is in getting out their fake news.
Should non-citizens be allowed to serve in our armed forces? And what, if any, risk does that policy pose?
So we originally proposed this when Jason Kenney was Minister of National Defense. The Liberals did it under Anand, started it, Blair's continuing on. Out of, what was that, 3,000 applications they received, and only 82 were approved. So there's a lot in security checks, and people, of course, coming from developing countries, the background information you might get from their governments, one, can you trust it? And two, is it even useful, or do they have any intel from a national security standpoint on those individuals? So it is very difficult. Now, definitely allied nations, it should be automatic. And because Canadians can go and serve in other allied nations, including Australia, New Zealand, and the United States. And we didn't have that door open with them or the Brits or NATO allies. And so we should work on that more aggressively. And I tell you what, a lot of people don't think about security clearance outside of the Canadian Armed Forces. It's also affecting our defense industry. The defense industry has to have people, especially when you're working, not just as a welder, but you're the person putting the high tech into a tank or into a lab or onto a ship. You got to have security clearances as well. Or you work in one of the firms that build, our drones or our optical equipment that we put on planes. They need people that can get security clearances. And more, our Canadians are retiring, and all too often the people with the skill set, the high tech trades that we bring in, are foreign born, and that makes it even more difficult to get those security clearances. So we have to make sure that is streamlined without compromising national security.
Has Canada lost the trust of our Five Eyes allies? And what will it take to reestablish these relationships should we seek to take part in AUKUS?
So Five Eyes become Three Eyes. AUKUS, Australia, UK, and the US. I want to turn that to caucus, Canada, Australia, the UK, and the US. But it looks like Japan's going to beat us there. Japan's going to be invited into that before we are. Why? We're not at 2%. Why? We aren't even close to that. You got to remember, the Liberals' 2% is creative accounting. What we're at today, at 1.43, they say, is creative accounting. When we were government, we went down to 1%, but we didn't have the 2% goal at that time. Harper signed on to it at the end of his tenure. That's when it came out at the Wales NATO summit. And that was and it was still considered an aspirational goal. It wasn't a hard line like it is today since war broke out in Europe. So the Liberals were just over 1%. So how do we get higher? How do we do it quicker? Well, let's do some creative accounting. We're going to add in veterans' pensions. We're going to add in the Coast Guard. It's unarmed, by the way, but they're going to add in the Coast Guard. They're going to add in Canadian Border Services. And they're going to add in some foreign affairs funding as well that are in line. And it's acceptable under NATO to add these things in. So automatically, you get a more ballooned up number. So if you look at the actual budget and the main estimates and the year and during the performance report that comes out at the end of the year, the actual expenditure within the Department of National Defense, it's nowhere near the dollar number that NATO publishes, because the NATO number is so much higher. And you don't know what parts of Veterans Affairs, what parts of Foreign Affairs, Transport Canada, Border Services, Coast Guard is all being brought into that. Only NATO knows those numbers in the Government of Canada. I've asked the Parliamentary Budget Officer to look at it. Like, how do you get there? And what are they using? They won't even tell him. And he's got top security clearance. He's top secret, and they won't give him that.
I was just gonna say, don't forget, we bought C-17s.
Oh, we bought
Yeah,
the Leopard. We bought the
tank.
kit.
We started investing in Ukraine in 2014.
Yeah, so we were investing in Ukraine. And I gotta say this about Ukraine. We loaned them some money, and they paid back all the loans that the Harper government had actually given Ukraine. They're all paid off already. Ukraine honored that debt. And they're paying back some of the loans as well that Canada has given them. But so during the war in Afghanistan, our spending went up over 1.4 without cooking the books. We've got a 1.4 with new kit, new heavy lift with the C-17s and C-130J Hercs. We actually bought the Chinooks helicopters. We've upgraded all our labs, and we also extended the life of our Halifax class frigates, which are now, they're trying to extend the life again because those new surface combatants won't be in the water quick enough, and these ships are so rusted out, I don't think they can upgrade them. We are at a very precarious moment for the Royal Canadian Navy that we won't be able to deploy and defend our own shoreline, never mind help our allies.
Switch gears here for just a minute.
So I can look up.
We had a question about firearms.
Summary.
So we all know that we've seen
You
a
have your-
massive increase in crime across the country, 40% increase in violent crime. We've seen the Liberals' policy spending, I think they're up to almost $1 billion in spend on trying to combat the crime, going after lawful gun owners, not the illegal
Unless you
gun
think it
owners
should
that are actually
steal.
shooting up our
Sure.
streets by bringing in illegal guns over the border. So the question is, will it be your government give relief to the innocent firearm owners, the licensed firearm owners, the sports shooters, by repealing that government gun laws that have really had no effect on crime?
Well, as a firearm owner myself, licensed, I have my PAL, taking the training. Actually, I took my training when I was 13 years old. On the farm, those are gifts at Christmas time. Yeah, here's a new 22 for you. Okay. Guess I go take firearms. But what we have to do, and Gary's been very clear about this, is we're not going to criminalize farmers, hunters, and sport shooters. We're going to make sure that those who commit crime stay behind bars. We talk about bail.
Not jail.
No, we want jail, not bail. Trudeau does bail. And he actually, in some of their, like when they reintroduced house arrest, they took away mandatory minimums that we brought in under Harper. He actually even took away gun crimes that his dad brought in that were conditional sentencing, where they would be able to serve at home. So the bail laws that he revoked go right back to multiple governments, and he always wants to blame Harper for our tough on crime. Guess what? When we're tough on crime, our communities are safer. In Vancouver, last year, there was 4 criminals that committed over 1,000 offenses, and they were caught and released the same day over and over again, and never did a day of jail. Those repeat offenders have to be behind bars. When we brought in our consecutive sentencing, when we brought in jail not bail under Vic Tays when he was our Minister of Justice, and then later Minister of Public Safety, everybody's going to say, well, you're going to fill up the prisons across this country, we won't be able to hold them all. Guess what? The number of people being incarcerated only rose by 7%. Why is that? Because it's the same guys doing the crime all the time. You put them behind bars, they can't hurt our families. They can't steal our property. They can't sell drugs on the street and solicit even more evil crimes by the use of unlicensed firearms owners. Almost all the Glocks and midnight specials that you see committing crime here in Toronto are smuggled in. They're part of a vicious circle with the drug trafficking. And it's that, they bring in guns, they bring in drugs, and they sell them to our kids.
The biggest gold heist in Canadian history, and all those guys are out on bail.
Out on bail, I just heard that today too. And sitting in communities. How can that happen? And so, major criminals, repeat offenders, violent offenders, let's keep them behind bars. Jail, not bail. Jail, not bail. James?
So the question was, okay, yes, we agree with what you're saying, but decades decades now, Canadian firearms owners have been thrown under the bus.
Yep.
Okay? We want relief. We want justice. We want to roll back these bad laws. Will the Pierre government
Yes.
roll those laws back and give us back justice and give us back faith in the rule of law?
Yes.
Thank you, Charles.
Yes.
Here, here.
So we will continue to stand up for. One of the reasons I'm in politics is because I ran against John Critchin's gun registry. Him and Alan Rock brought in the gun registry. And I did my bit of civil disobedience. I refused to register my firearms. And I knew I could be arrested. You know, I knew I could have my guns confiscated. But it was a matter of principle that I, as a firearms owner, as a hunter, as a farmer, needed to protect my livestock. I like to go out there and shoot the odd goose and the odd deer when I get lucky enough. But, you know, provide for my family. They should be coming after my firearms because the parliamentary research department found on their own research and then was confirmed by the University of Calgary that the most law-abiding citizens in Canada are registered firearms owners. The licensed firearms owners. Now, we do agree that we have to make sure everybody is properly trained. We do agree that people need to be screened. And if there is any reports of breakdown in mental health, domestic violence, then those firearms should be removed from that home or from their gun locker. But proper storage. What?
Common sense.
Common sense, that's what I have. I got the shirt. Common sense and service. Okay, can you hear me in the back?
What are the top 3 initiatives you're planning upon becoming Minister of National Defense in October 2025?
So that's I will do whatever Pierre Polyev asked me to do.
Good answer.
And if I have to sit on the back bench, I'll sit on the back bench. But I will be proudly serving under Pierre Polyev as our Prime Minister. Get her. If you look at the polls, you look at the numbers, and what the projections are, and it's going to change dramatically here on Monday after April 22nd. We got, you know, instead of 338 ridings, we go up to 343. It's being affected right here.
And it is going down.
And I tell you, like, the ridings have been created.
And
are
Ben,
going to be.
Ben is going down.
Down, jail. But look at, if we win a government and we do double our numbers. When we win government, Pierre's got a real challenge on his hand. Building a cabinet for a government is going to be a big undertaking. When you look at, you know, we're as good as the polls are showing, we'd be adding 100 members to our caucus. That's amazing. And everybody gets elected thinks, I'm good enough to be in cabinet. I've been around 20 years. I have my own opinions. But, you know, Pierre's going to have to look at making sure that he puts people in based on merit, putting people in from all the regions. You know, he's going to have to balance off a lot of considerations. And that means that, you know, myself included, you know, may not be in cabinet. But I will serve wherever I can. But I am providing, I'm serving his pleasure right now as a shadow minister in the shadow cabinet on defense. And I am providing him with advice on what we need to have on our platform, what we have going to put in our defense policy as soon as we form government. And one of the very first things that we have to do is a national security review. There hasn't been a national security review done in Canada since 2004. And the world is a dangerous place.
Yes.
And Canada needs to make sure that we're, you know, the first priority of any government, of any prime minister, is to protect Canadians. I just want to say, you know,
without the word of a lie, I've worked with this guy for a long time. He's my battle buddy. And the fact of the matter is, nobody has been more dedicated to Canadian Armed Forces over the last decade than James Bezan.
I appreciate the endorsement.
Well said.
More beer. It's gonna cost them beer.
Ready for one more?
Yeah.
All right. I know it's warm there. It's getting warm. This is a question about Arctic sovereignty. So there's a lot of concern about Arctic sovereignty amid increasing Russian aggression and from the government in China, etc. And with Canadians aging submarines, what would you implement to address this?
So I was proud under Stephen Harper, and I got to serve both as chair of the Defense Committee and as parliamentary secretary to both Minister Kenney and Minister Nicholson when they were ministers of defense. And Stephen Harper believed that if you don't use it, you'll lose it. And that means we have to have a presence in the Arctic. We have to repeal all of Justin Trudeau's anti-development laws of our resources here. If we want to see our communities in the north succeed, and they want the infrastructure to support their communities, the broadband, runways, ports, well, you got to have the resources up there to do it. And then we can have the dual use purpose of both military installations as well as civilian installations to make a better life for everyone and keep us safer. If we're not using it, we're going to have a situation which just is happening right now in the South China Sea with the Philippines. The Philippines are really concerned in the East Thomas Shoal of Chinese Coast Guard, Chinese militia, and commercial fishermen just all of a sudden showing up on their shores. They have one island now that has over 1,000 families from Beijing, from the PRC, living on an island. Just walked in because it was uninhabited, and they took up residence, and they're now trying to say, this is our territory. This is our, we got, you know, our economic zone here. We have our airspace. We have our maritime space, and the Philippines going, you know, no way. That is ours. And now they have to fight it in the legal courts, or they fight it on the battlefield. Wow. And I think the Philippines, even with the U.S. behind them, is a little bit outmatched for the People's Liberation Army and their Navy and Air Force. So we have to be active up there. We have to have presence up there. My mom was born in Chesterfield Inlet and grew up in Tankerton. And so I have a very big connection to the Arctic. We have to make sure that we have a great way of living for those in the Yukon, Northwest Territories, and Nunavut. And we have to have more than a few hundred soldiers at Yellowknife and 5,000 Canadian Rangers. We need to increase the size of our Rangers. We have to be able to deal with things in a more expedited manner. We have to have, and Pierre promised in the leadership campaign that we would have a deep sea naval port at Churchill, Manitoba, or somewhere else in the Arctic, so that we can deploy, including icebreakers, like we're seeing right now, the Harry DeWolf class Arctic patrol ships. You know, we ordered those. We want to make sure that they are armed up and able to defend. We need to have submarines that can go under the ice. So we are going to continue to investigate that. If you look at the DPU, they do mention submarines, and Trudeau spoke off script because the defense policy update said we're going to buy conventional diesel electric submarines, and then Trudeau and the door saying, well, we'll also look at nuclear. You know, that's a whole different undertaking, a lot more money to do that, and great if we can, but it's very unrealistic with the current budget situation. But we have to be able to defend our Arctic. And we have to have eyes in the air. We have to have more surveillance, low Earth orbit satellites. We have to have the over-horizon radar system. We do believe that we have to have the AWACS be in the airspace. I'm going to Bombardier tomorrow to actually look at some of their plans that they have for AWACS that they work with Savo, Sweden, and already built them for some European nations. The lot farther that we can see the threat environment. We've also long maintained that as a member of NORAD, as having that two-eye relationship, a privileged relationship with the Americans, that we should be part of ballistic missile defense. So we need more air defense systems. One thing that we've learned in what's happening just this past weekend with the attack on Israel, if you don't have the ability to have air defense, to intercept everything from hypersonic missiles, cruise missiles, kamikaze drones, and intercontinental ballistic missiles, you have to have the full suite to be able to protect yourself here at home. Without it, we're all at risk.
Yeah.
You know, you asked earlier, what does our allies think of us? And I can tell you this, I talked to some of my friends that serve in the Pentagon, Canadians that serve down in the Pentagon, and they said it has never been more uncomfortable in their careers on how they are treated with open disdain by the American troops right now because they are so disappointed and upset with this Trudeau government.
Shame.
We want to have our place on the world stage. We've earned it. You know, who here served the Canadian Armed Forces? I know we got three right here. Right here. Back there. Thank you for your service. Thank you guys, each and every one of you. And they can tell you more than anything, it is because of their sacrifice, and it's the sacrifice of Canadian taxpayers. It's through the blood and treasure that we have spent through multiple international conflicts, including World War I, World War II, the Korean War, Afghanistan, multiple UN peacekeeping missions. That has all garnered our place on the world stage. By drawing to the point that we can't even deploy troops to Haiti, even when the United States begs Trudeau to do it, and we still won't do it, speaks to the fact that we've lost our place.
We don't have enough
And the
to go down.
DPU that just came out doesn't have a foreign policy tied to it at all. The number one threat environment in the DPU is climate change. They want more of our troops
There goes
spending
my
time
YouTube channel.
sandbagging and fighting
What's that?
forest
There goes
fires
my
than
YouTube
being the
channel.
war fighters that we
Okay.
train them to
Thank
be.
you. Yeah. You just-
And we will get back to the
People
war
get
fighters.
sort of say.
Yeah.
We will put more pressure on the provinces to be the first line of defense against natural disasters. We'll always be there because only the Canadian Armed Forces are big enough, have the command and control structure that be able to go in there and provide aid to civil power when they need it. But at the end of the day, if we're in global conflict again, and all of our brave women and men are out there serving, the provinces are going to have to pick up the slack regardless and fight things like forest fire, floods, and other natural disasters.
Well, I think that wraps up for tonight, so thank you.
Let me just close with this. First of all, I want to thank each and every one of you for being here. One is that you are very interested in getting rid of Justin Trudeau. And it starts right here in Oakville by throwing Anita and Ann the door. But we need you to be our foot soldiers. You have great candidates running here, so many in the room. Find them, meet them, know what their platform is, how they're going to fit into a Pierre Poilievre government, and how we can make Pierre our prime minister. When we have those candidates, get the signs, knock the doors, find the voter, and convince our friends, our family, our neighbors, our work colleagues that the only way we can save Canada is with a Pierre Poilievre common sense conservative government. On April 22nd, the ridings are changing. The party will be reconstituting new EDAs, especially here in Oakville, because you guys are getting split kind of 3-4 different ways.
East, west.
And so when that happens, find out which EDA you're in. Offer to volunteer. Make a donation. For all of you that donate to the party, thank you so much. We all benefit from it in caucus. Every candidate across this country benefits. We're able to produce those great videos of Pierre, talking to Canadians, showing his beautiful family and how he is down to earth and common sense. I've been lucky. I was elected with Pierre back in 2004. We have been side by side for the past 20 years. Him, me, Andrew Scheer, Michael Chong, Dean Ellison, and Colin Carrier are the 6 left from the class of 2004. It's been an incredible honor to serve with such incredible members of Parliament. But get out there, find your EDA, and as soon as they've got their websites up, donate to your EDA. Fill up your local war chest so that we can go out there and put on a proper campaign, fight the Liberals head to head, and defeat them once and for all.
So thank you, MP James Bezan. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Thank you for an excellent speech, and thank you for answering all the questions. Thank you very much. Thank you everyone here for coming tonight. Thank you to the Pipes and Tap staff. And thank you to our Oakville EDA for putting this all together. Thank you. And last but not least, a gentle reminder to please remember to pay your tab before you depart this evening. And thank you very much, everyone, for coming this evening. Thank you.
Where is this? This is in Oakville. We're at basically kind of a town hall with James Bezan, who is the shadow minister for defense here in Canada. Here he is there. So we're just at this town hall and just live streaming his entire speech. But I think I might just close down now. People just chatting around. So it's just like Derek and I came out for the speech. Got a little bit of a crowd here, but there we are. Okay. So I think I'm going to say goodbye to this live stream. You're welcome in.
Sorry.
That's okay. Just wanted to get your shirt.
Sorry? Oh,
Get back
yeah.
your shirt. There you go. Thank you.
You live in Oakville?
Huh?
Are you in Oakville?
No, I live in Toronto.
We're in Toronto.
On the beaches.
Oh, nice area.
Yeah.
He's gonna be the MP here in Oakville
Are
East.
I'm
you?
running to be. I know Brad Bradford, your counselor.
Well, that's the counselor,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's
So
a counselor.
this is a live stream, so I don't want
is
you
it?
to
Oh,
say things you don't want to say. But yeah, what's your name, Ron?
Ron.
Chinzer.
Ron Chinzer.
Okay, and you're gonna run in where?
I'm running here in Oakville East.
Okay. So yeah, my MP is
As liberals go, he's not a bad one.
No, he's a nice enough guy, but
He's reasonable.
you know, but
But
he
he's
still
still
has
a
to
liberal.
run with the party.
What's going on?
So,
Yeah, I'm in the middle of that.
Give me 1 second. I'm gonna go sign.
okay, so I am gonna shut this down. I keep saying that, but. This is Carrie. She's running also. She's a nominee. I'll have to deal with that. Not deal with it, but kind of figure that out. I'm just going to get through you. Can I just squeeze through you here? Hard to move around. Okay. I'm just going to shut this down. There's me. You want to say see you later?
No, I actually live in Campbell. I'm in Kyle C.